Hi, my name is Lisa Dregney, Long-Term Care Planning and Insurance Advisor with Yorkshire Insurance Advisors. Welcome to this video addressing the integral components to a long-term care plan. As mentioned in a previous video, the three primary goals of long-term care planning are choice of care, protect your loved ones, and protect your plan of care. In order to achieve that, we look at the following 7 areas to create your individualized plan. The first, determine your desired plan of care. Second, determine your location of care. Third, establish your caregiving team. Fourth, assign expenses to your long-term care plan. Fifth, determine the best funding solution for your plan. Sixth, ensure your estate plan is active and up to date. And lastly, 7, communicating your plan with loved ones and caregiving team. Let's briefly address these one at a time, starting with determine your desired plan of care. Although you may not know exactly what you want for your care one day, you likely have a good idea of what you want and what you don't want. Would you prefer home care as long as possible? Or are you looking to start in a continuing care retirement facility in their independent living area for the socialization it provides? Will family be assisting in any capacity with your care? Or will you need or prefer to rely on professional care? We work with you to determine when, how long, and how much care you might need based on your current health, family history, and longevity expectations. Next, we determine the location of care. When I say location, I mean geography primarily, but also type of home if home care is planned as well. Are you one of those that dreams of retiring to a remote area in northern Wisconsin, for example, where it's beautiful and you have time to enjoy the outdoors as you always wanted to? My aunt and uncle did just that, and they love it. But what professional long-term care options or facilities are available in that area when the time comes and they need it? At the point they can't drive anymore, who's going to pick them up and take them 30 minutes to the nearest doctor for their appointments? Or 2 to 3 hours each way to the specialist they'll likely need at some point in the next major city. My neighbor is dealing with this very situation with a loved one where several family members have had to step up and take turns getting him to the specialist, none of whom signed up for that job when their family member decided to move up north. I also see a lot of couples that move to warmer states in the south with no plan on what happens if one spouse passes away and there's no family in the area to help the remaining spouse. These are details that need to be thought out to determine if a second move in retirement needs to be in their plan for those later years to get the support they need. Along with evaluating the city you want to live in, it's also important to review the home you might want to reside in, if applicable, to make sure it's conducive to caregiving. Thinking about things that help avoid fall risk, like single-level living, walk-in showers, wide doorways for wheelchairs or scooters, and any major upgrades that are needed prior to needing care are really important. There are times where it becomes apparent one's current home can't be their long-term care plan if they want to remain at home, and evaluating the options and making the move before a care need can make a big difference within an overall financial plan. Next, we'll establish your caregiving team. It's important to determine who your caregiving team will be, even if that means they're all professionals. We look at who would be available to help with the initial needs like carrying heavy objects, hauling 40-pound bags of salt up and down stairs, etc. This level of help most families typically more than happy to provide if they're close enough. Then we look at who will be your primary caregivers, along with support to caregivers if needed as well. Someone needs to take you to the doctor's appointments, to the pharmacy, the grocery store, remind you to take medications, do light housekeeping, etc. Determining who provides your care helps determine the plan expenses. We take great care in providing education on the physical and emotional impact of caregiving on family to be sure your team members aren't subject to unintended consequences. It is of course imperative that each non-professional caregiver is aware of their expected role in your care and is allowed to opt out if at some point in the future they're no longer able to help. This is very common with children that move away from home for new job opportunity or other things, for example. Next, we'll assign expenses to your plan of care. As mentioned in a previous video, the younger we start this process, the less detail we have in the care plan. But no matter the level of detail we work with, we're able to assign realistic expenses in order to be sure your financial plan going forward incorporates it. The city and state you are expected to receive care is significant in determining the expenses assigned, as a major city is likely to cost much more than a suburb, for example. Also, some states overall are typically less expensive than others, simply due to their difference in cost of living. If the location is undecided, we typically assign expenses for the highest of the potential locations until one is decided upon. Once determined, expenses are evaluated within your overall financial plan to ensure your plan looks to be affordable, at least at an average age of need. If not, either an alternative plan is created or changes to your financial plan can be made, such as delaying retirement or taking a part-time job instead of retiring completely. The plan needs to be affordable long-term. Next, we'll determine the best funding option for your plan. Once we know your plan is affordable, we evaluate the funding options available to you. This is critical to the success of your plan since we don't know when you might need care. It could be tomorrow or 30 years from now. This is why long-term care insurance is relied on heavily to fund long-term care plans, since it accomplishes this need very efficiently, along with many other non-financial benefits, as I highlight later in a separate video. The most common funding solutions include the first being long-term care insurance or other insurance-related options. Second, your current income from sources such as Social Security or a pension. Third, your assets such as savings or retirement accounts or even your home. It is not uncommon, however, to incorporate all three within the funding plan, depending on your personal situation. But careful consideration needs to be made as to what works best within your overall financial plan. This is why I so highly recommend working with a financial planner if you don't already, and work in collaboration to ensure your plan has the best chance for success. Next, we'll ensure your estate plan is up to date and in place. A critical piece of the success of your long-term care plan is making sure your estate plan is in place, with the priority being your financial and healthcare powers of attorney, as well as your living will if applicable. Your healthcare power of attorney determines your care you receive when you can't make that decision for yourself, which includes choosing a care facility. Your financial power of attorney takes care of your finances on your behalf when you no longer can. Making sure the right people are in these roles and they have been given and granted the right powers within the power of attorney document is critical, since they ultimately are the ones ensuring your long-term care plan can be implemented as you wanted. Without it, the courts ultimately will decide who will make decisions on your behalf, and your plan may not happen at all as you wanted it to. If you don't have your estate planning documents in place, or it's been a number of years since you've had them done, definitely reach out to a trusted estate planning attorney to either create those for you or have them reviewed to make sure they're up to date. Finally, we'll discuss the plan with loved ones and caregiving team. It's very important that the plan you put together is communicated to your loved ones and care team as well ahead of a long-term care event to allow them time to accept their roles and to know exactly what your wishes are before the significant emotion that comes with a long-term care event takes over. It also allows any disagreements with the plan among family members to be discussed and hopefully resolved before any need arises. In addition to the verbal communication with family, it's also important to have documentation of your plan and all other financial information and wishes in writing in hopefully one single place for easy access when needed. There are several wonderful resources to help put this all together if needed. This saves significant time in being able to step in and help immediately when the time comes. Now that you know what goes into a long-term care plan, the next video highlights some of the professional care options today to consider for your plan. You might be surprised by them. I'll see you soon.